Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about mental health because my mind matters and I talk about it. 2 years ago, I attempted suicide by overdosing on sleeping pills, and I ended up staying the night in the hospital for the very first time in my life. And then the next day, I was transferred over to the mental hospital for 5 days. I've talked about my experience before. Actually filmed it right as soon as I got home. I talked about what had happened, why it happened, and I talked a little bit about my experience as well. I feel like in the beginning of being home, I focused more on the good aspects that I experienced at the mental hospital, which was basically just the people I met there. It was the people and the friends that I made there that really made the experience worth it, if it really wasn't worth anything. But being in there, having the friends that I did made a difference. However, over these years, I've been kind of experiencing some more traumatic symptoms, the after effects of being in a mental hospital. And so I've been really noticing more that it really wasn't that much of a pleasant experience. I mean, it wasn't really a pleasant experience to begin with, but I'm focusing more now on the bad things than I am of the good things. So I wanted to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about the truth and my experience of being in a mental hospital. I have a fear of going back to the mental hospital, and a big part of that is, well, one, they really didn't do anything to help us. All they did was just put us on medicine, and we saw a psychologist every day, and she sat down, talked with us. I don't know if anyone else had a different experience where they actually talked to her, like had a conversation about how they were doing and whatnot. But for me, it was pretty much I sat down with her and she just asked me, how are you doing today? Are the pills working? And she just basically just stared at her computer in a binder the whole time, just typing away. And then all I did was say, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, the pills are fine, even though they weren't. I lied because pills are shit. Did a little thing and then she sent me on my way. So there really wasn't much anything anyone did to really help us. We had breakfast, and then we had, we all sat down in the group room, and that's where we spent most of our times just hanging out in the group room, either talking or napping. And then we would have outside time, and then we would have lunch, and then it was back in the group room to do nothing but talk and nap. And there was dinner, and then there was group again. And of course, in the morning and in the night, we had an hour for phone calls. We only had 2 phones. We had to each take a turn within this hour to call whoever we wanted to call. And then we were off to bed. There really wasn't much going on. But what made it worse were the 2 morning texts that we had from Monday through Friday. They were these 2 ladies that were ex-prison guards, and they treated us like prisoners. They talked down to us. They yelled at us for the stupidest reasons. They yelled at me for being nice. They yelled at me for asking a question. They yelled at me for not knowing where I was going because I was so new. They treated us like prisoners, and in a way, we were prisoners. In the mental hospital, you have no electronics, no phone, no computers, no video games. All we had was the TV, and although you can change the channel to a music station, but there was no other source of music at all. One time it was actually really cool because one of the techs, while we were outside, she put on some music on her phone for us, so that was cool. But yeah, no music besides the TV, the music station on a TV. And then we were watched everywhere we went. We had people sitting outside in the halls, outside of our bedrooms throughout the entire night. Had to keep our doors open at all times. If we wanted to shave, we could not do it alone. And if you acted out, the techs would respond with hostility. I once had to watch a guy get a shot in the butt. That was fun. If you have Wanda, if you were in the hospital with Wanda, oh, she makes it fun. She makes every moment hilarious. But there was no escape and there was no freedom. The doctors and therapists thought they knew me based on a psychiatric diagnosis, but they were wrong. They didn't know me at all, and none of them took the time to get to know me. They gave me a misdiagnosis based on a first impression. And that first night, first of all, I overdosed on sleeping pills. I spent the entire night in the hospital in agony. So I spent the whole day sleeping until I was transferred over to the mental hospital, where they then had me locked in a room on suicide watch. So I wasn't allowed to leave that room ever for the whole 24 hours. So I slept. I mean, what else is there to do? You locked me in a room with literally nothing for entertainment. So I slept for the rest of the day because I was recovering from an overdose on sleeping pills, and he locked me in a room with nothing to do. I'm suddenly up and about and I'm like, okay, what is it to do? And so I step out of my room and I'm asking the people like, hey, like, is there anything that I can do? What's going on? And then this guy comes in and he tells me, you're not supposed to be out here. You shouldn't have slept all day. And I'm like, excuse me? What is this attitude that people have in these freaking mental hospitals? When you're in the mental hospital, you're in there because life put you in there. Whether you're an addict on drugs or alcohol, or if you're like me and you went in there because you attempted to end your life, or maybe you're in there because you're paranoid, you have schizophrenia, you have major depression or anxiety. You're in there for some reason, and it's not because everything in your life is just rainbows and sunshine. What we need in mental hospitals, from the techs, from the therapists, from the doctors, is compassion. We need gentleness. We need understanding. We need guidance. We do not need people telling us where to go, what to do, at what time. We don't need people telling us that we're stupid, yelling at us because we're new and we don't know where to go, or yelling at us because I overdosed on sleeping pills and you left me in a room all day, and so yeah, of course I slept. Like, we don't need hostility. We don't need to be controlled. We don't need a whooping. That's not how a mental hospital should be. When you are admitted into a mental hospital, you should be treated with respect. You should be treated with kindness. And like I said, with gentleness and compassion. People need to feel heard. People need to feel understood. And not just because you have a degree in psychology. Not because you have the authority to diagnose someone with borderline personality disorder simply because you accuse them of lying. Just because we have mental illnesses or addictions or whatever our case may be, it doesn't make us any less human. It doesn't justify being treated as inhuman. None of that. None of the compassion. None of the understanding. None of the kindness is what I experienced from any of the techs, doctors, or therapists there. Everyone was just there to do a job. And they did their job. And then they went home while we were locked away. When you're in there, you don't know if you're ever going to get out. Because if they think you're not getting better, if you act out, they could keep you in there forever if they wanted to. Which is why, while I was in there, I made sure that I kept myself in line. Even though their pills and pills are shit, I told my doctor that they were fine, just because I knew that the better I acted, the quieter my presence was there. As long as she thought that what she was doing was helping me, then she would let me go sooner. That was my experience. That was the true and honest experience from my stay at a mental hospital. Thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and watch all of my other videos. And also please check out my links in the description below. Check out my photography website, check out my Etsy shop, check out my Patreon. Stay real and have a super sparkly day.